With a growing reputation as a dramatic actress, 42-year-old Elizabeth had truly come into her own. But unfortunately, the man who had launched her career more than 2 decades earlier was not there to share his daughter's triumph. Over the years, Elizabeth's relationship with her father had become increasingly strained.
They did not get along very well at all. I never understood it. I think to some extent he was jealous of her.
They had a lot of different views politically. My grandfather was right-wing Republican. My mom was a little more liberal, and they just didn't see eye to eye.
Though Elizabeth and her father rarely spoke to each other, she was deeply saddened when, in 1981, Robert Montgomery passed away at the age of 77. As America entered the conservative Reagan era, Elizabeth felt compelled to act on her own political and social conscience.
She did a surprising amount of work for different causes, mostly fairly anonymously. She didn't like going where all the cameras were, and it was the glitzy occasions.
In 1991, Elizabeth's bewitched co-star Dick Sargent publicly acknowledged his homosexuality, and he asked her to join him as Grand Marshal of the Los Angeles Gay Pride Parade. Elizabeth gladly accepted.
Elizabeth, what are you here today for?
My buddy.
Your buddy.
Yeah.
And now, our Grand Marshals. This year, they are Elizabeth Montgomery and her very close friend and co-worker, Dick Sargent.
Since the success of Lizzie Borden, Elizabeth Montgomery had appeared in more than a dozen television movies. Still beautiful and full of vitality at 59, she continued to be a sought-after leading lady. But Elizabeth Montgomery's life was about to take yet another surprising turn. In 1993, Robert Foxworth and Elizabeth Montgomery celebrated their 19th anniversary together, but not as husband and wife.
I had asked her to marry me about 7 times, and she always said no. But one day we were sitting at the kitchen table talking, and I said, you know, this situation would be so much easier if we were married. And she looked at me and she said, is that a proposal? And I said, okay. And she said, yes.
On January 28, 1993, the couple was secretly married at the home of Barry Cross.
It's typical of Lizzie. It was about her and Bob at that moment. It needn't be a publicity stunt.
About 15 minutes after the ceremony, they called and said, we're married. She said, I'm married. It was, again, so childish and sweet.
Publicity shy since her teens, Elizabeth gradually began to let down her guard with the press, consenting to several interviews and even launching a business with her oldest son, Billy.
Elizabeth Montgomery's secret sauce. My mom was a great cook, and she made 2 sauces that were delicious. See, I'm like licking my lips now just thinking about it. And I thought, gosh, Mom, we should market these sauces. It would be so much fun to do it together. People loved it. It was a fun thing we did together.
In 1994, Elizabeth portrayed real-life Miami crime reporter Edna Buchanan in the TV movie The Corpse Had a Familiar Face. The 2-hour teledrama was so popular that in 1995, CBS brought Montgomery back for a second Edna Buchanan movie, Deadline for Murder.
I'm going to kill Johnny Scarfa. What do I know about him? Well, I know he carries a gun. So I would be a fool to take the time to kill 2 people before I shot him. I'd whack him first.
Well, in the reenactment photo, he does get whacked first.
But the fact that Scarfa had the time to get off 3 shots clearly supports my theory that Orlando was the intended victim. Is that logical, or am I crazy?
No, that's logical, and you're crazy.
Oh, well.
Yeah, nice crazy.
But while shooting on location in San Diego, Elizabeth became mysteriously ill. suffering from what seemed like a hard-to-shake flu. True to her fashion, she continued to work through the discomfort and obvious symptoms of a serious illness. When she finished filming, Elizabeth checked into Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and doctors delivered the devastating news. She was diagnosed with inoperable cancer, and after several grueling weeks in the hospital, she decided to go home.
It was just a very scary time for everyone, but she was always kind of had this great sense of humor. She knew how serious it was, but she tried to be positive about the entire situation.
We were all there together. And so at least she went in a place where she felt loved and was at home, where she felt most comfortable.
On May 18th, 1995, Elizabeth Montgomery died of cancer. She was 62 years old. Though born into a world of wealth and privilege, she struggled to surpass her father's fame. In the process, Elizabeth Montgomery fulfilled her own ambitions and went beyond her dreams to become an icon of American pop culture.
You know, the thing that I remember with the most affection about her is her wit. That's how I'm always going to think of her.
She was my best friend, and she was the most generous person I ever knew.
I miss her voice, really. She had a beautiful voice.
Oh, I'll try. I promise I'll try.
Her greatest legacy is her ability to give young girls growing up an idea of how strong a woman can be.
She was so natural and unaffected and unpretentious. She lived in a lot of people's homes and in their hearts.